Wonderful. Good evening, my wonderful students and the rest of the viewers who will view this YouTube. We had begun taking a series on poetry, and yesterday I defined what oral literature is, and as a teacher it is good I repeat. I said oral literature is the acted, performed art whose media, like that of written literature, is words. Now, under oral literature, we have various genres, which I also said yesterday clearly that you can refer to them as genres or types or kinds. So we have the oral narratives. I gave examples of myths, stories that tell us the origin of issues or people or surroundings, etiological tales or narratives, they explain why. Then we also have the legends, they tell us the heroic happenings or heroic deeds, or deeds that are heroic surrounding a particular person. And I gave you an allusion of the story in the Bible of Samson and Delilah picked from the book of Judges, that the Luos alluded and came up with the story of Luanda Magere, this great powerful man who was really fighting against the Kipsigis. Then we also looked at other genres. We said we have songs, and we looked at the various subgenres under songs. We have praise songs, we have topical songs, we have wedding songs, we have dirges, and so forth. Then I also said clearly that we have dances, and dances are referred to as genres, but we also have the subgenres like Luo dance, we have Kilumi dance, and so forth. We will concentrate on that when we reach there. But we really want to concentrate on poetry, like I began yesterday. Then we also said that we have short forms. We also have short forms, and under short form, this is a genre where we have subgenres like puns, we have riddles, we have proverbs, we have tongue twisters, just to mention but a few in passing, so that students who maybe did not get me well can also get that for their own revision in this time. Then I also said clearly and gave you a definite explanation why you should embrace poetry with a positive mind. Why? Because many students have been told that poetry is quite hard, which is not the truth. Poetry is very simple. You only need to change your attitude. I told you yesterday clearly, when we take A plus T, plus T plus T plus I plus T plus U plus D plus E, that is when A is equal to 1 and Z is equal to 26. It is very easy for you to realize that is 100%. So change your attitude, and then you really love poetry. I told you for you to tackle poetic questions, then after you've changed your mind, you should also have an open mind. And I went to an extent of defining clearly that a poem is simply a piece of written piece of music in stanza form. So you find it written in stanza form. That is one significant thing about poetry. It is written in stanza form. And then we also should not forget the fact that poetry has got lines. There are particular lines that are formulated according to the topic of the poet. You come up with the various lines that lead to the stanza. So I remember yesterday I gave you a good example on the poem Morphons, and I also constructed for you a poem showing you that wherever you are seated even right now, you can come up with a poem. You can come up with a poem of anything that is around you. So poetry is to be embraced, and I said and I insisted, and I'm still insisting because I want students to love poetry. We insisted and said that clearly that God is a poetic God. So all students must do well in poetry, whether you are in primary school, you are in secondary school, or you are in the university. So today I want to go on and cover a little bit of this fact that of course I also said that we should also have an open mind when we are tackling questions. Most of the time when we are tackling the questions in poetry, we force ourselves, especially the high school students, to begin looking into the deeper meaning. No, read the poem the way it is and then analyze it the way it is, and then you'll realize that everything becomes very easy. Now, under poetry we have both oral and written. Of course, we have said that poetry is oral literature. So for you to get full meaning of a poem, you are supposed to actually say it with the word of mouth, because that is in essence what oral literature is all about. But when you write it down, that means that you lose sound devices. This is something that is very key. You lose the sound devices. And according to the way the examination setup has been created in most of our institutions, students will be brought for poems in written format. So if you know that if you get this poem that I'm putting for this wonderful evening, you will realize that even if you have been given a poem in a written format, one thing you should acknowledge is that you should ensure that the orality of that poem is key. Now, I've been teaching my students on ways of how to read a poem and understand. Let's say you are in a class or in an examination room and then you meet a strange poem, one that you have never seen, one that is not as simple as the one I gave you yesterday about a pen, one that is a bit complicated, maybe about racism in South Africa or about anything to do with the black Negroes in the US, and you've never known that. I want to demystify by saying this. Because written poetry has lost those oral features, which are the sound devices, you really now have to be very careful. The moment you get a question paper that has got this poetry question, you should first of all go through 3 processes. And these processes are very key to each and every student. First of all, read through the poem. Let's say if it is a 5-stanza poem, read through the poem from the beginning to the end. When you finish, you go back again and now begin reading the second time. When you are reading the second time, this time around, you read from the first stanza, or rather the first line of the first stanza, and then you read plus the questions that you have been given as per the examination setup. Now, when you also read this second time, you should also be having a pencil. Many people think that pencils are only for mathematics. No, pencils are also very crucial when you are doing an English examination. So what you need to do, you come with your pencil, and then as you'll be reading the second time, you underline those features of style that you have been taught. For instance, you read a poem and then you say, with your pen, as you are reading the second time, try and see whether you can see any alliteration. I'll talk to you about these features of style. I'll explain as we go on with our videos. You look for assonance. You look for personification. This is the second time and I'm insisting. And then you also look for, onomatopoeia. You look for idiophones. All those features of styles. Now, I want to say this at this juncture. Don't force yourself to look for a style that is not in existence. Any style you will see, you just underline. Now, why is the second time very important for a student to do in an examination room or even in a classroom setup? It is very important because as you are reading even through the questions, you will come to realize maybe there is a question that will even direct you to get to understand what the poem is all about. So if you begin answering the question just like that, you read the poem and you answer, you might really lose a lot of marks. Then at this juncture, I also want to say, be very careful when you are reading the questions and then you look at the questions. Look at how many marks have been put per question. Now, you read the third time. I've said that poetry is oral literature. That is in essence where I had to define from the word go what oral literature is. Remember, I've said it is acted, performed art, whose media like that of written literature is the use of words. Now, when you write a poem, you lose all those sound devices. Now, this third time when you are reading, ensure you read the poem and in your seated position without interfering with any of your neighbors there. Try and recite out the poem in that quietness. But this will help you get through the nonverbal cues. It will help you understand the poem more. You'll get the thematic concerns. These sound devices will begin unveiling per time. Most of the students that I've taught have actually seen that this thing is interesting and it has made them to love poetry. And I want to believe that all of you will also do the same, and then you'll realize that poetry becomes easy. This third time actually is to help you it's like you are reproducing the poem in its spoken part, because poetry is oral literature. And you see now, there is no way examination cannot be set without a poem. It has to be there. Another very important thing that we should also note is that according to our Kenyan education system, we will find that in poetry in paper 1, we have a question on a poem. And this question, normally, what determines so much of the answers to these questions are oral skills. You know, the way the syllabus has been changed. So you are expected to answer the questions on the oralness of the poem. Now it is under this section again in paper 1 where oral skills are actually key. And we also look at grammatical questions. You'll be asked maybe like a line in a poem, and then you are given to add a question tag. I'll give an example of my poem. I told you yesterday, by God's grace, I have written a book called Redemption Songs, a nice book with very simple poems. Like my poem number 65 is called My Love. So the poem goes, my gentle one, stick as I stick, fidelity forever we cherish. Bounded together we become. On our ground, so speak. My love, my gentle one, I feel to this we cling. You see, such a question can be brought, such a poem can be brought in paper 1. And now we are trying to look at the oral part of it, the oral skills. Now, like the first question that I pose here, fourth is the title, My Love, relevant? Yes, it is quite relevant, because why? The persona is talking about somebody she loves. Then for you to get a mark, you need to show us which line in this particular stanza is showing us it is about love. Then you say, for instance, fidelity forever we cherish. Bounded together we become. It is only two people who can be bounded together. That is why now, in essence, we are saying the poem is about love. You cannot just get the 2 marks for free like that. You are supposed to explain, but you explain using very simple and straightforward words. Now, in paper 2, you will realize that most majorly the question will come in the poem that will be brought forth is a very long poem. Maybe it is even 3 stanzas, 4 stanzas, 5 stanzas. The procedure is still the same. Read through first time without even concentrating on what the poem is talking about. Don't even mind any literary devices that have been used. You just go through it like that, whether it is in the one for paper 1 or for paper 2. Then the second time I've said you have your pencil, then underline any device that you have ever been taught on poetry. Then the third time try and recite the poem to bring back the oralness of the poem, because now this is a written work. I hope by now all the students have understood what I've said. Wonderful. So, if you get to understand this process and then you practice, it becomes very easy. So I think for now, I want to answer some few questions on this poem. I'll reread, and then now we plan for me to write a poem through the video, and then now we'll go through the poem and see how to analyze a question, especially for paper 2. But for today, this one is a very short poem, so I'll reread and then we try and answer these other part of questions that we have here. So I'll read afresh. My love is the topic. My gentle one, stick as I stick, fidelity forever we cherish, bounded together we become. On our ground, so speak, my love, my gentle one, I feel to this we cling. So I've said the first question is, and it is tagged 2 marks. Is the title, My Love, relevant? I've already answered that. It is because of the example we have given. There are 2 people who are bounded together. You cannot be bound together if you are not 2. You must be more than 2. Then question 2 reads, what is the effect of we two, stick as I stick? This simply demonstrates fidelity that has been enhanced by the repetition of the word stick. Stick as I stick. These 2 people need to live in faithfulness and in honesty. Then you see I said like now in paper 1 will be asked a question like construct 2 grammatical correct sentences to illustrate the difference in meaning using the word stick. The statement was this: stick as I stick. So one, you need to know that we have 2 ways of using the word stick. We have stick, the one that can be used as a noun, and stick that can be used as a verb. So for instance, you can say, this is my stick. This is my stick. Then I stick with you. To mean it is a verb, it is something you are doing. For instance, from the poem, it is that woman speaking, she will stick with the man. I hope my viewers you've understood. You can see the way poetry is very interesting. And I wish I would see your smiling faces. It's only that I cannot see, but I know you are enjoying these poems. Then question 4, explain 3 features of style in the above poem. My gentle one, stick as I stick, fidelity forever we cherish. Bounded together we become. On our ground, so speak. My love, my gentle one. I feel to this we cling. So if you have been told to look for features of style, we have various features of style in poetry. And let me just begin by looking at some few, and then we'll continue also with time, because we have very many features of style. Now when you are asked to explain 2 features of style in the poem, what you need to do is you need to tell us the feature of style. For instance, we have features of style like the feature of style like repetition. And I want to encourage you to be very careful on the spellings of repetition, because many students write repetition the wrong way. It is wrong. The second one is wrong. The first word is the correct one, repetition. So for instance, in this poem, we can see that we have repetition. Repetition is simply using the same word over and over, or you use the same line over and over more than once. And normally, why do we want repetition? What is the essence of repetition in a poem? It creates musicality. You know, you cannot sing a song and then you don't repeat. If you repeat, that is when the beats will actually augur well with what you are presenting. So we are saying there's the repetition of the word stick as I stick. You know, it makes that poem to be easily sung. It also makes it interesting and enjoyable to be devoured, or rather to be understood. So we really need to be very keen on that. So you give us the example, you tell us we have repetition, you write the right spellings as expected in grammar, and then you give us, for example, in this poem, these words have been repeated. Then you put a comma and explain to us in a short statement what you mean by or rather you give us the effect of the repetition, like I've already said. Then we also have another feature of style like alliteration. Alliteration simply means repetition of both consonants and vowel sounds. There are some literary scholars who differentiate between alliteration and consonants and assonance in the following way. Others say alliteration is the mother of assonance and consonants. Others even just say alliteration is consonants, and then now we have assonance. Now, so under alliteration is simply repetition of sounds, both consonant and vowel sounds. So we have alliteration, and then under alliteration we have consonants, which I've said some scholars say alliteration and consonants mean the same thing, because it is repetition of the consonant sounds. All of us, we know consonant sounds in English. In English, you all have 2 types of sounds. We have from the alphabetical letters, we have the consonant sounds, and then we also have the vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, U. So the rest, 26 minus 5 is 21. The rest are consonant sounds. So those are what we refer to as the consonants or the alliteration sounds. And then we have the assonance. This is the repetition of the vowel sounds in a particular line. So like in the poem that I've given forth here, let's see if we have any alliteration. We have stick as I stick, repetition of the C sound and the C sound. Then we also have so speak. We have the s, you can see. And by the way, you realize that when you have such a poem, you know there is the enhancement of the musicality. Then fidelity forever. my love, my gentle one. You know, the sound. Wonderful. Then, of course, we have other types of features of style, but as we go on with many other poems, we'll get to understand. But let me talk about now personification. You know, the way I'm talking to the stick here, stick as I stick, is like I'm talking to a human being. So there is personification. What is personification in essence? Personification is simply giving inanimate things the qualities of a human being. Of course, it is a human being who can stick. You know, the way the poem has been put forth. So we can say we have personification. Stick as I stick, like you are talking to the stick, to stick the way you expect. So we have personification. Then, of course, we normally have another very common feature of style, which is called onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. It is called onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. This is simply that sound that is produced by the action that somebody has made. For example, when the snake, you know, the sound of the snake is, it produces sound. Now that sound is called idiophone. The sound itself is called idiophone. But the way the sound has been produced, the effect is what culminates into onomatopoeia. Now we'll say the hissing of the snake. So as we continue covering these poems, we'll get to understand the various features of style. Now, let me go to the next question. We have been told add a question tag to the line 2. And the line 2 is stick as I stick. So you add a question tag. All of us, especially in high school and even the higher levels, we know a question tag. So you see, paper 1, we are testing your oral skills. And if you are good in grammar, you are good to go. So, stick as I stick, what is the question tag? We know that in such statements, you need to introduce now an auxiliary word. So, you'll introduce an auxiliary word here, stick as I stick. So, you'll say, will I stick as I stick? Then the question tag will be in the negative. Won't you? You put a comma after stick as I stick. Let me write. You know, as a teacher, you have to write. Stick as I stick. You put a comma. Never forget this for your successful mark. Of course, now I've said you have the auxiliary will. So, will I stick as I stick? Then the question tag should be now in the... If it is in the affirmative here, then here you should negate it. So, it will be untie. Then you get your 1 mark and then you are good to go. Okay. Then another question that can be very common is write 2 words written with letter CH but pronounced as. Write 2 words written with letter CH but pronounced as sound. So you see, these are letters. Don't confuse my wonderful students. These are letters. This is a sound. Once you see this brackets here, it indicates that this is a sound. This is for phonetics. It's phonetics. You will learn it in higher levels. So this is. So we are looking for words in English. And you see, this word, I picked it from CH. And I want to refer to and I was comparing it with the word stick. So we have the sound. Don't say the S. S is a letter. The C sound. So we are looking for words in English that will produce the C sound, but they are written with CH. I wish I had students in class here, but it is very enjoyable. So we will look at such kind of words. Like which words now? Words that are pronounced like that. We have like which one? We have like they are written with CH but pronounced as C. Not C. We need sha. The sha sound. So it should be a longer one. It should be sha sound. So we have letter CH written with not this one. It is sha sound. So this is a sha sound. So we have words like chevron. Can we all say chevron? Chevron. CH pronounced as sh. Okay? We also have chemise. This is a word that has been borrowed from French, so it is chemise. I'm almost saying in French. In French, it is called what? Chemise. So we just say chemise, borrowed directly from French. So you see, CH pronounced as CH, pronounced as a sh sound, and so forth. Okay? Then we also say that we also write two letters. Write two words that are pronounced, that are written with the letter CH. Sorry. That are written with the letter CH, but pronounced with a K sound. I know my students will all get this. We have words like choreography. We have a very common word that will always there in your labs, chemical. Are we together? CH but K sound. So these are some of the questions that you can get in paper 1. All right? Yeah. So maybe to finish up with grammar, you can have a question like write the phrasal verb to the following 2 words. So you look for a word, you are told write a phrasal verb, maybe look into something like that according to the poem that you have been given. So maybe another question that you can answer in general but not in detail is like, what is the major social activity among these people? You will simply say these people do what? They marry. You see, they're honoring marriage. Seek, if I seek, to enhance fidelity in marriages in our society. Remember, poetry in essence is actually is supposed to bind the society together and to pull people towards living in the right way. So for today, my wonderful viewers, let me finish there. Then we'll move on in the next video. I want to believe this video will help you a long way. Bye-bye. God bless you all.
This is a city on a hill, a school with God's glory. Education is light, my Kadzonzo, the only bright, shining star in the nation. Highly favored, my Kadzonzo, highly favored by God, so we are.